All right, we'll bring you the very latest from the ongoing war in Ukraine. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky hosting U.S. envoy Keith Kellogg yesterday in Kyiv. Zelensky saying the meeting restores hope.
And that meeting comes on the heels of President Trump and Zelensky exchanging some fiery remarks. And with Ukraine being excluded from the talks with Russia, we'll bring in now our foreign policy panel. Harley Lippman is joining us, also retired Navy SEAL Mike Sorelli. Gentlemen, thank you both for coming on. We appreciate that. And Harley, I'll start with you. President Zelensky is sounding somewhat encouraged. There's been a shift in emotion with President Trump, frustrated, which we just talked with Caroline Leavitt, the White House press secretary. She confirmed that President Trump is frustrated with Zelensky and how this is being handled, and perhaps him not meeting sooner with Russia. What are your thoughts here, Harley?
I think, one, somebody has to coach Zelensky on how to speak to President Trump. When he speaks to President Trump, and in the last meeting they had, or phone conversation, President Trump asked Zelensky about the precious minerals in Ukraine and said that he wanted an opportunity for the United States to be able to acquire 50% or something like that. And Zelensky said no. And you can't do that to President Trump. Zelensky should have said something like, let's get our teams together and let's figure out how we can make this a win-win for both of us. And he didn't do that. And I think that sparked frustration and anger in President Trump. So that's one thing that I would share. At the same time, it's important that the United States be seen as standing by our ally, Ukraine, and for this reason. The big emphasis on the Trump administration is to pivot to be able to deter China. Well, what will our Asian allies think if the perception is seen that we've thrown our ally under the bus? What Asian nation is going to stay with us in our battle against China if they see we abandon a friend and ally? And what European nation will stand with us? Europe could shift towards China if they see America as an unreliable ally.
Yeah.
So it's really important we stand with our friends.
Yeah, point taken. And probably the billions of dollars in American funds would show true examples of our support financially. National Security Advisor Mike Waltz will speak later today at CPAC. He also has been somewhat critical of Zelensky because he says he wants to see an end to this war. Let's watch.
A key part of his conversation was helping President Zelensky understand this war needs to come to an end. This kind of open-ended mantra that we've had under the Biden administration, that's over. And I think a lot of people are having a hard time accepting that.
You know, nearing 3 years, Mike Sorelli, do you think we're closer to this war actually coming to an end under the Trump administration?
I do. And Harley is right. Zelensky needs a mindset shift. It's very myopic, and we can understand that. And Zelensky said the details of this ceasefire do matter, and he's correct on that. But he would not have lasted, and the Ukrainian people would not have lasted this long without the support of U.S. through munitions, armament, as well as the taxpayers. And to deny President Trump and the United States access to the mineral rights, I think was a poor choice. You know, at the end of the day, this can be a victory for Zelensky and the Ukrainian people. They stood against the bear of the East, a small nation, and it is a victory. Though the borders won't return to the pre-2014 borders, they should switch their mindset and understand that this could be a victory for them, that they withstood the onslaught of a very large military competitor.
And both men here in the panel, Andrzej Duda, Polish president, put out on X recently that he spoke with President Zelensky, to your point, and said this: I suggested to President Zelensky to remain committed to the course of calm and constructive cooperation with President Donald Trump. So again, just reiterating your point that from the Polish president. Turning now to the Middle East and the war in Israel. And this is a heartbreaking story. It makes you sad and angry all at the same time. Prime Minister Netanyahu alleging one of the released bodies was not a hostage. It's an unknown, citing forensic analysis. The mother of the two children, the Bibas family, was not among the remains, though it was believed to be that Shiri would be, and she was not. He's now vowing revenge, and if true, go back to Harley on this. what type of violation is this from Hamas, returning a body that is not of one of the hostages and is an unidentified and was not a part of the Bibas family, Harley?
It's psychological torture, psychological warfare. And I think what we have to realize in this is that, think of these children, the Bibas children. It was an 8-month-old child. It was a 4-year-old child and her mother. And everybody in Gaza knows each other's business. They see things. They have red hair. They're very visible. They were seen walking around in Gaza barefoot. Nobody went to tell the Israeli authorities or the Red Cross. Nobody went to help the Israelis to find these hostages. You know, even during the Holocaust, you had righteous Gentiles. You had people who saved Jews. I don't know of any example in Gaza where anybody went out of their way to save these innocent people. It shows really the stark difference between, I would call, civilization and savagery. And the bottom line here is that Hamas is committed to the extermination of every man, woman, and child, because the man they killed took cancer patients from Gaza on his own expense, brought them to Israel to be treated for cancer for free. And this man was brutally tortured and murdered in Gaza, an 84-year-old man.
Yeah.
This speaks to the Nazi-like actions of Hamas.
It's horrific. Mike, when it comes to the state of the ceasefire negotiation, I mean, does this mark an end to it, or is Israel expected to continue on waiting for the return of hostages?
I don't see this ceasefire lasting, and for the reasons Harley just stated. What type of human being takes a 9-month and a 4-year-old hostage? At least a decent human being would have kept them back where they would be safe within Israel. My heart screams out to the Israeli people, and I don't think this peace will last. I don't think this peace should last. Carolyn Levitz on the previous segment said, we have to accept nothing but the full extermination of Hamas. And for anyone who's crying for the Palestinian people, they didn't die at the hands of the Israelis. They died at the hands of Hamas and what they did on October 7th. Yeah. And Harley is right. We've never seen any examples of Palestinian people standing up against Hamas saying this isn't right. And so a two-state solution will never exist, and it should not exist.
And elected in that region, it's just terrible to think about that young baby when you read some of the headlines that are coming out that the baby didn't last more than a couple of months there in captivity, even though this has lasted well over 2 years. It's just horrible to think. And then it leaves you with the final question: where is the mother? Where is Shiri Bibas? What will be the response from Israel on this? Harley Lippman, Mike Sorelli, thank you for the conversation. We appreciate that.
Thank you.
Thank you.